Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from NGC Studios here in South Florida, and I want to thank you so very much for joining me here tonight. Contact info as usual. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SamW_NGC, hashtag Whitfield Report, hashtag Sam's Savages. Follow me on Gab and Minds at Sam Whitfield, Facebook.com/Whitfield Report, and thesamwhitfield.com is my web address. Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the kind of the end of summer episode, I guess, or one of them. And tonight I will be diving back into Owen Benjamin's stuff. I did take a break from it for about like 2 months or so, but needless to say, now I kind of need a break from all of like the mass shooting stuff and all of that, and plus we're not into election season yet, so I figured I would just take an opportunity to kind of catch up on some of the Owen stuff that has been happening in the world, and holy crap, there's not a lot that disappoints when it comes to content. So, first of all, I have a document, a little short document I want to break down from a friend of show, Alan Powell, who has covered kind of the fissures that are happening right now between Vox and Owen, so to speak. The relationship hasn't quite dissolved fully, but it's starting. It's starting for sure. So this video is titled Owen Benjamin and Vox Day, a Lover's Quarrel. So I will cue that up. And yeah, great work by Alan Powell, and I'll be kind of breaking this down. So clip number 1, roll the tape.
Here we go!
I don't think that most of you understand that Owen is much more honest than the average person. Tradwife Life says, what will you do if Owen turns on you like he turned on Alex Jones, Rogan, and now Crowder? I don't believe he will, because I don't plan to treat him like Alex Jones and Rogan have done. Alan Powell, you're wrong. Owen,
which is very interesting, considering that Vox Day and Alex Jones are now kind of getting chummy again now that Vox has a book to promote, but nonetheless, this is the way things are going. So continuing on.
Obviously understands comedy, and the reason that he's not touring anymore is because the venues will not permit him to perform there. You clearly have no idea what's going on. So, a lot of people had warned me about Owen Benjamin. A lot of people had, let me know that it would be a real blow to my credibility if I was going to work with him. And they let me know that, this was somebody who liked the drama, couldn't get along with anybody.
I have to call out someone that you considered a friend, but as we know, there's no other way around it. If you don't if you don't stop the bleeding, you got to amputate the arm. And of course, I'm talking about Fox Day.
And a lot of people have been telling me, you need to disavow him. You need to.
Which is interesting, Owen, because the same thing could have been said about, Eric Nimmer. Because, people tried warning you about Nimmer, too, and you, didn't want to pay attention then, either. So.
Make it clear that you don't have anything to do with them.
I was warned over and over and over again by people when I first became friends with Fox. First, it was, he's alt-right. Steven Crowder tried to warn me. He said, he's alt-right. Don't hang out with him. He's going to ruin any credibility you have. And I said, no, but I like him. He's cool. He's smart. Being very smart. When you find another smart person, it's like black guys finding each other in Utah.
So they're saying, oh, well, he bought into this fake Marine sniper thing, and obviously he did buy into a lot of fake stuff, like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson.
Just like I usually do, I let people in too quick. People are like, Big Bear, you have 250,000 YouTube subscribers. This dark stream has like 8,000. No one even knows this guy. And he's using you, Big Bear. He's using you for your people. And I have a hard time conceiving of that. I don't. Because I would never do that. I never.
So, Owen. Even after the Eric Nimmer situation, you still have trouble understanding that people want to use you. Okay, I guess. That right there is very telling. Very telling.
Think anyone else would do that. And as time goes on, we start unauthorized.tv, and I see just how many of my people are there. Bears are asking for verifications. And then yesterday on some live stream, someone said that I was his meal ticket. And normally I would just shrug it off. He said, Owen Benjamin's your meal ticket. And what did Vox do? He laughed. He cackled. That's preposterous, he said. Preposterous?
But, I was talking to a mutual acquaintance today. This is someone that a Hollywood figure that some of you know of. It's someone that Owen knows personally. It's someone that I've worked with. And so, I consider this person to be extremely credible. And I consider this person to be a friend. I mean, this is somebody that I've actually spent a fair amount of time with and worked with and so forth. And we were talking today, and he said, do you know why Owen's channel got a strike and why all of his videos are now gone? And I
took all his videos down. Like, literally. He took all of his own videos down.
Well, I didn't know the videos were all gone. I'd heard he got a strike, of course. I knew all about the strike, but what's up with that? And he said, well, the video was really bad. I said, well, what, wasn't that bad? I know which video. So it was the Boomer video. And he said, exactly. And I was like, well, I don't get it. But then I started thinking about it. And here's the thing. Owen is a millennial.
Okay, first off, no. Owen is not a millennial. at all. Now I know that there's like some uh I know that there's like disagreements on what the definition of millennial is. Some people, like I've heard millennial defined as anyone born like in the 1980s or later. I've heard people define as anyone born in like, from 1990 to 2000. So, it's either from the 80s to 2000 or from the 90s to 2000. Even if Owen is technically like a millennial, he's like pushing what a millennial is. He's like borderline Gen X. So there's that.
And I'm Generation X. And so we have a very different relationship with the baby boomers than the millennials do.
Here's the thing about Vox Day. Vox Day has never been close to what I got. And that's a liability. When he was growing up, and he'd look out his father's Gulfstream G4, and people would say, "Oh, yeah, he's using a big bear. You're a big Hollywood hotshot. He's just a guy with a stream. Why are you letting him in?" When Vox was growing up, he would look out his father's Gulfstream G4 and he would dream of one day being close to a guy who was one of the stars of TBS's primetime sitcom lineup.
Okay, now this clearly has to be satire, right? I mean, there's no way that Owen is being serious about that. So, and by the way, the fact that Owen is calling Vox a guy who just has a stream, that's laughable in and of itself, because if Vox is just a guy with a stream, then what are you, Owen? That's literally what you do all day. Is just stream.
Understand the baby boomers. They raised us. We were there for the music. We listened to the classic rock in the car from the time that we were 5 years old until we were 20 years old. We understand their thinking. We understand who they are, what they are, and in a way that no millennial can. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's not right to disrespect the greatest generation that America has ever known. It's not right to disrespect the generation that literally changed the world.
When Vox Day became a multi-platinum game designer, he was like, maybe one day I could know the smell of goats. Maybe one day I could know a guy named Owen Benjamin.
And so when you look at...
Okay, now, that bit is funny, but not in the way Owen thinks it is. Like, if you were just a random guy who just kind of tuned into Owen and didn't know what he was about, and you heard that, that's a serious WTF thing right there. Like, even as someone who kind of knows the ridiculous material that they do, that's still a very, like, what? Like, how is that even supposedly a joke? It's not funny at all.
What Owen, this millennial, has said about baby boomers. It's just, it's not acceptable. It's disrespectful. And, you know, I don't know if it's generationist. I mean, why is it okay? Why is it okay to be racist or sexist? And we all know it's not okay to be racist. It's not okay to be sexist. But it's okay to be generationist? No, it's just as wrong. It's every bit as wrong. And so, and then, on top of it, on top of making fun of things like, you know, iconic things like Woodstock, like the moon landings and so forth, to use the H word, that was too far. You know, I mean, I had to admit, you know, my friend was right, that I have no choice but to disavow anyone who is going to use the H word. The only person who is allowed to use the H word, the only people who are allowed to use the H word are boomers. I'm Generation X. I've been around boomers all my life. I know boomers. I understand boomers. And even I would not use the H.
Yeah, I mean, so Coke Goat in the chat, by the way, great username, brings up a good point. It can't be real. If it was, Owen would be assuming that Vox is a wizard sodomite. Oh yeah, I mean, clearly this is all, you know, a sketch. It seems pretty obvious. But the reason why I'm playing this is, on the surface, I mean, they seem to be kind of poking fun, but I guarantee you that in a couple months, they're going to be at each other's throats. Maybe not at the end of this year, and maybe not even by, you know, early next year. But I guarantee you that at some point, Owen is going to say something so erratic that even Vox is going to be like, whoa, cut it out.
Word.
When Vox Day was the top 40, when his band was in the top 40, he said, no, none of our songs are about a bike and a young person of color.
Okay, so even Owen's jokes about Vox, like their whole little bit, it's lame. And when was Vox ever in a top 40 band? So
And so that's why I am forced to disavow Owen Benjamin and all the other millennials who are showing disrespect to the greatest generation, the generation that changed the world, that made this world a better place, that ended war, that caused the seas to stop rising. Oh wait, that's Obama.
What I'm trying to say is,
yeah, this is clearly a bit.
I didn't know I was being used by Vox Day until I ran the numbers. We broke 3,000 Big Bear subscribers on unauthorized.tv, and that's a milestone, obviously. But I ran the numbers. After we pay for our technical fees and all the fees involved in running your own site that hosts videos, I did the numbers. I added it all up, and I looked at Vox's cut of my people supporting me is in the low 4 digits. The upper lowest 4 digits. And that type of power and influence can really go to a man's head. Bald head, I might add.
Anyhow, yeah, boomers are now a protected class.
And if you haven't noticed, my mustaches keep going missing. It has now been brought to my attention that Vox Day has been farming my mustaches for one day to have hair again. Every time I grow a mustache, it mysteriously disappears. And then Lo and behold, Vox Day backwards is Zad Yad. Russian small hat hiding in plain sight.
Granted, I suck at improv. Okay, I do. This is why I'm not a comedian. I'm not good with like improv, but even that pause wasn't good.
Vox Days made 4 digits a month on me on unauthorized.tv. The highest part of the lowest part of 4 digits. And once people get a taste of that, web hosting money.
So they might not be fighting now, but it does seem to me like, as Owen said, there's a kernel of truth in every joke. And it does seem that even though they're joking, we are kind of getting into the, underbelly of what's making Owen mad at Vox.
You just can't trust each other anymore. When I saw him laugh at the concept of me being a meal ticket, listen, the guy's a best-selling author, multi-platinum game designer, comes from wealth and privilege that I can't possibly comprehend. That being said, without me, he's nothing but a piece of shit. I don't even know how to end this one. His name backwards is Zavyad, Russian Jew hiding in plain sight. I just felt like that was a pretty good way to start off, since he already kind of did the satire joke about disavowing me.
So, anyhow, so as you know, I'm not disavowing Owen. In fact, I think that Owen actually had a excellent point.
Way too many of you guys knew it was a joke, so it wasn't as funny. But because it was obviously a bit of a payback. But the gamma male is so preposterous, George. To think that I'm Vox's meal ticket or that he's my meal ticket, it's insane. It's just men working together. And we actually have one of the healthiest relationships I've had with someone I work with, because he doesn't want to be he likes doing his own thing. Satire, sarcasm, satire. Sarcasm is a specific form technically of satire, but it's for people that want to say something. It's I'll do a whole stream just on one.
Everyone, please go subscribe to my buddy, Mr. Alan Pell. So, very well done. And yeah, I mean, even like 5 minutes in, it was pretty clear that this was satire. But there are kernels of truth to all this. I don't think that Vox and Owen are necessarily going to, stay in a working relationship. Maybe they will. Maybe I'll be wrong and they'll go on to make like hundreds of thousands of dollars with unauthorized. Maybe it'll be bigger than InfoWars. Who knows? But going on to InfoWars, speaking of InfoWars, so Alex Jones had a Google Insider on the other day, a quote-unquote Google Insider. Now, I do want to make a quick note on this before we start. To me, it just seems like there's a new Google Insider coming out of the woodwork like every week or so. at this point, there actually seem to be more Google insiders, in air quotes, for those of you listening on the audio podcast, than there are actual employees at Google. And by that, I mean people claiming to be Google insiders and whistleblowers. I mean, even I get emails from some of them claiming to have worked for Google on information, but then when I ask for, like, verifiable stuff, they don't want to show anything to me. They only want to present stuff on the show. And so it just seems like a big troll. But I digress. So, Owen's been, Owen's been on this whole kick against Alex Jones for a few months now. After Alex Jones and Rogan pretty much made up a few months ago, Owen turned on Alex, and they had their little spat for a while, and now it seems like Alex is becoming closer with Vox, so to speak. And this insider guy said that he read Vox's book, and that's the clip I'm going to play for you guys. So all this, like, Google insider information is very interesting, so to speak, or rather, what this guy is claiming. So here is Alex Jones talking to a quote-unquote Google insider about the social justice warriors. Clip number 2, go.
And the thing is I'm not entirely sure that the executives are really running the company. I suspect that there might be someone above them operating from the shadows, operating through the executives. I actually want to recommend a book called SJWs Always Lie by Vox Day.
Yeah.
That's the only book that I would recommend that someone would read if they're going to read.
I don't mean to plug it, but we do sell it at InfoWarsStore.com. That's one of the few books I've read the last year. I've been so busy.
Yeah.
They always lie.
They always lie. And the thing is that people that aren't familiar with the tactics, because this is weaponized, they don't understand what's going on. And so they're likely to make a bunch of mistakes. They think that they just capitulate and, like, apologize, then it's just going to go away. And
oh, no, a few years ago, I'm like, well, I'm not really saying that about Sandy Hook. But if you say I'm hurting you and sending people to your house, I never did that, but I apologize, that's when they just...
Okay, so this insider, this quote-unquote Google insider, immediately, and I think this may have been more towards the end of the Alex Jones interview, but he plugs Vox's book on Alex's show, and Alex apparently also sells copies in the InfoWars store, which that's kind of weird in of itself, because Vox and Owen were both bashing Alex a few months ago, and yet you're going to still sell his book in your store, Alex? Okay, whatever. But an insider or a whistleblower who's trying to sell something directly related to the quote-unquote whistleblowing, like, that always makes me suspicious. Kind of like on another subject real quick, when I listened to the Joe Rogan interview with Bob Lazar, I liked Bob Lazar's part of the conversation, but that other guy that was on with Bob Lazar, the journalist, right? He was just there to sell his book to, Rogan's crowd. He wasn't really there to, actually converse with Joe and Lazar about Area 51. So, but that's a whole nother stream for another time. I don't want to get bogged down into Area 51 stuff. Maybe I'll save that for the end of the year. But yeah, this Google Insider, quote unquote, is just selling books at this point, it seems.
Full Metal attacked.
Yeah, they double down. And the thing is that they're going to parade your apology around and say, well, you know, he admits to this, that he's like X, Y, or Z bad person. And then they're going to use that and they're going to parade it around. And this is not something that people like understand intuitively. And so the thing is that, you know, get this book, SJWs Always Lie by Vox Day, and read it. It's a fascinating read and it goes by really quickly. And it's kind of a funny title, but
the point is, stop capitulating, stop kissing their ass.
Yes, exactly.
Because I knew not to capitulate the political structure, but I'm like, oh, the families. I didn't really do this, but if this is really happening, I'm sorry. And then they just all go out with talking points and then just attack.
Yeah, so I followed this book basically as a tactical operation manual on how I was going to leak this information. So, but let's go back. Like, what exactly did I do at YouTube? What I did at YouTube was I was a senior.
So first off, for anyone who actually wants to do citizen journalism, let me plug a book, and it's not even a book that was written by me about like citizen journalism and activism. See, this is the other thing. Vox is claiming that like he's written the tell-all on like SJWs and, you know, the expose on SJW and the media, you know, and all that stuff. Andrew Breitbart, the late Andrew Breitbart, wrote a pretty good book on the media war and the culture war and how to confront leftists and do research. And that one is called Righteous Indignation, Excuse Me While I Save the World. It's it's part Andrew's biography, but it's also, or autobiography, but it's also kind of like a how-to on citizen journalism. And granted, some of the references are outdated a bit, but it's still a good book. And I actually did read like part of SJW's Always Lie. It wasn't bad. But I actually think that Breitbart's book, if you want to get serious, that's like a really good starting point. So, but anyway, this guy was going into what his position was at YouTube.
At YouTube. What I did at YouTube was I was a senior software engineer, and
Hey, let's get you on with Vox Day tomorrow. You're still here tomorrow.
I am still here tomorrow.
Can we get Vox Day on with him tomorrow?
Great, awesome. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Keep going, I apologize.
So, if anyone turns on like the television or, you know, PlayStation 4 or Xbox or Nintendo Switch and they see the embedded version of YouTube playing on their television, that's the app that I was working on. And when I left YouTube, when I resigned, that app constituted 10% of YouTube's entire traffic.
Wow. The fact that a major Google engineer who was running, 10% of YouTube's traffic alone with one thing he did has come out with the big Ed Snowden level data dump.
Is that I've noticed this pattern of insiders being able to hack Google's systems because I saw how they took down Jordan B. Peterson. I was able to use Google's own services at trends.google.com to show the real search traffic for this search term and show that Google was lying. So either Google is lying through one service or they're lying through the other. And either way, they're both lying.
Yeah, Joe brings up a good point. Owen has already disavowed Zach V in a live stream. I was going to bring that up in a sec, too. But yeah, that's what makes this whole thing interesting.
Well, I'm telling you, this fucking guy is, he's just a wacko nut job that quit his fucking job at YouTube. Whistleblower loves QAnon. Accused Zionists of running the government. What O'Keefe's video leaves out, though, is that his much-hyped insider is not as credible as he claims. On social media, Voorhees is an avid promoter of anti-Semitic accusations that banks, the media, and the United States government are controlled by Zionists. He also pushed conspiracies like QAnon, Pizzagate, and the discredited claim that vaccines cause autism. Sound like Owen?
On another subject, and thank you for that clip. That's from John Arcade to subscribe. I don't know if I want to get into this, but I'll probably be opening like another can of worms. But what exactly is? I still don't get what QAnon is or what it's supposed to be. It just seems like a giant X-Files type thing. I mean, I've had QAnon people reaching out to me in the last couple of years too. I don't so I mean, I tend to try and stay out of conspiracy stuff just in general. I mean, the Vox, I mean the QAnon people are entertaining. I'll give them that, but I don't know how serious it is. But anyway, another Owen video that I thought was interesting, and this was mainly like what caught my attention. Like, I've kind of been taking a break from a lot of this stuff, but Owen recently did a video on advertising and how advertising advertising is bad. Okay, that's kind of the premise of this one. So let's pull this up. Owen doesn't understand advertising. Clip number 3. Roll the tape.
How many people have actually used promo code Ben and bought some fucking sheets? None. Nobody does that. That's one reason why I never took advertising, because it isn't honest. I used to make way more when I used to take advertisers. Joe Rogan is being paid dirty money. None of it's based on actual advertising. How many people have actually used promo code Ben and bought some fucking sheets? None. Nope.
Well, I haven't used promo code Ben for Bolin brand sheets, but I did get a pair of like movement sunglasses using promo code Ben. So and the movement sunglasses are actually pretty good. They've actually outlasted a pair of Ray-Bans that I've had. So that's not necessarily like a sponsorship endorsement. I'm just saying that the ones I have are pretty good, and I did use Ben's promo code with that. So
does that. That's one reason why I never took advertising, because it isn't honest. You know, I got paid once $6,000 just to say, like, Casper Mattresses, promo code Owen. This is years ago. And I was like...
It was years ago. No, that was more like 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, I guess that could technically be considered years ago, but I mean, that doesn't seem like that long ago to me. And yeah, I know I'm mincing words, but it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, cool, we sell some mattresses, and I get $6,000 a podcast. So just know, even though I've been doing well on and off.
Okay, $6,000 a podcast is like really good. actually.
In the P.O. box. I used to make way more when I used to take advertisers. But here's the thing. Did I make a mistake? No.
Yeah, you kind of did by getting rid of your advertisers. Okay, now the reason why I bring this up is because I've actually had people comment this about me. Well, yeah, Rural Jefferson brings up a good point. The fact Ben keeps getting paid to sell means people buy because of his advertisements. And yeah, so in regards to the whole advertising thing, this kind of amuses me because at the beginning of 2019, I started taking ads on my podcast through Anchor, Anchor is the company that hosts the audio version of this podcast. So I'll put the live streams of I'll put the YouTube live streams like this one. This will be on the auto feed on Sundays, and then I do like a audio exclusive podcast on Thursdays, and I'll do bonus episodes sometimes. Speaking of, tomorrow, well, I'll save the announcements for the end of the show, but regardless, I started taking advertisements on my podcast at the beginning of the year, at the end of last year, but it was like December of 2019, so it didn't really start paying me until January. But much like YouTube ads, the way Anchor ads work is I'll get an offer from a sponsor who sees that my podcast is like in the news and politics section, or that I do really well, and they'll like match up with podcasts in my genre, and they'll basically give me copy to read in the ad. And then I'll read the ad, and then I can, in my case, I can choose where in the podcast I want to put the ad. So I always choose to put my ads in the beginning of the podcast, like Rogan does. And then every time someone streams an episode of the Witchhold Report or downloads it, I get revenue from the ad. Now, I do have flexibility of like choosing which ads I can take. So, a lot of my ads will actually be like for smartphone apps that you can download. In fact, the ones that I've had so far this year have been pretty much of smartphone apps. It's not bad that I have ads. It's really helped me as like a small independent podcaster to it's really helped my my little small independent podcaster to have ads. So ads aren't necessarily like inherently bad, but yeah. So Vox has explained it. Ben is financially backed by the neocon cabal. Ads do not matter. Well, I mean, when you make it to big levels like Shapiro does, right? He has his own company too, and there are lots of people who subscribe to the Daily Wire. And I mean, also, I interviewed Ben Shapiro back in 2012 on my old podcast. Right after he got known, that was kind of how I made my bones. As I've said before, I do like Ben personally. I don't always agree with him, but I do like him. And look, I mean, if I'm honest, I would love to have an outfit the size of the Daily Wire one of these days. I won't necessarily. I've been offered gigs before. I haven't taken them just because I haven't been the right fit. But if I were to get an offer to keep doing what I'm doing and everything seemed copacetic, I might take it if the offer is right. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think making money off of podcasting or commentary is inherently bad. So I just think honestly Owen is mad because he can't get advertisers anymore. And I would just rather that he come out and say that than I don't take ads anymore because they're dishonest. So yeah. Yeah, Rural brings up a good point. So the problem with Ben's ad revenue is where the rest of his seller comes from. That makes advertising bad. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing is like a lot of podcasts out there. The advertisers won't reach out to the podcasters directly. Like I said in my case, the advertisers will reach out to Anchor, and then Anchor will then give me the option of advertisers that I want to work with. Same with Westwood One, who hosts Ben's podcast, and also Dennis Miller's podcast, who I know Joe listens to as well. Okay, Westwood One is the one who does ads for a lot of podcasts. So yeah, ad revenue is an interesting thing, and people have asked me to kind of explain it. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for people from Audible to reach out to me because Audible is the one service that I actually do use from Amazon. So, yeah, let's see. Advertising is bad. Subscribe to unauthorized. Jack, Dennis. Yeah. I mean, I used to actually clip some of Dennis's ad reads too because they're funny, and that's the other thing is some of the ad reads. Like if you ever listen to Bill Burr's podcast, he does ad reads, but he makes fun of the ad reads too. Like Bill Burr does ad reads for MeUndies all the time, and they're basically satire. So, a lot of podcasters make fun of the, advertisements that they have too, and that's fine too. But I mean, advertisers want to work with people who have audiences, and some of them want to work with bigger podcasts. Some of them want to work with smaller podcasts like me, or I guess are willing to. it's a beautiful thing. So, all right. Let's see. What else do we have? We don't have anything in the video queue. I know that people want me to talk a little bit about the Dan Crenshaw interview on Rogan. I'm almost done listening to the Dan Crenshaw Rogan interview. Not quite, but I want to finish that before I actually do an analysis. But so far, I mean, it's an interesting interview. I actually haven't heard much of. I haven't heard Crenshaw speak that much, so I'll have my analysis of that interview here in a bit. Let's see. What else do we have as far as announcements go? So I do want to plug this real quick. I will be on a upcoming podcast this week. I actually recorded an interview earlier this week on another podcast called Out of the Blank, and which isn't really a political podcast, but it's more like a conversational podcast, kind of like Joe Rogan style conversation. The young guy who hosts the podcast, Robbie Robertson, he had me on just to kind of talk about my background and talk about why I like podcasting and some of the views I have on the world and whatnot. So he gave me a chance to be very autobiographical. We didn't talk that much about politics. We just kind of shot the breeze. So it was a fun podcast to be on, and I'll post the link to that interview when that's out, and I will also be having Robbie on my audio podcast here within the next week as well, so be on the lookout for that. So anyway, I want to thank everyone here for listening to the Whitfield Report. I will be back on Thursday with an episode of the audio podcast. That will probably be when the interview with Robbie comes out. So, and then tomorrow, I don't know whether I should do like a live stream format podcast on this or an audio exclusive, but people have been asking me to talk about like the Matrix movie and some movie news, so I'll be talking about that tomorrow, whether or not that's on the audio podcast or whether that's on the video podcast. I don't know yet. But anyway, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in. And for everyone who joined me, thank you for listening. God bless, and God save this great nation. I'll see you on the next episode of the Whitfield Report. Hey there, folks. If you've made it this far to the end of the podcast, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to the show. You are the ones that make it possible for me to make an income from podcasting, and I greatly appreciate that. Just by listening to our show, you are helping us gain ad revenue. However, if you would really like to help support the show, I encourage you to please donate to the podcast and become a supporter of the show. You can head over to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report and click the support this podcast button and choose the amount that suits you to support the show. Or you can click the link in the show notes and it will directly take you to that page. If you can support the podcast, I really, really appreciate that. Anything that you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Even if you can't afford to help financially support the podcast, I encourage you to please go on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and please leave this podcast a positive 5-star review. That really helps us out here at the Whitfield Report. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.